Okay. Om Timirandhasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविता शाखां वन्दे भर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहं दक्षिणे लक्ष्मणो यस्य वामे च जनकात्मजाः पुरतो मारुतिर्यस्य तं वन्दे रघुनन्दनम्. Well, welcome. It's nice to be with all of you in person and online. We are currently studying from the Yuddha Kanda up to uh, 13 chapters. I'll give a quick summary so we have a context because as I'm going to read some of the verses, Sri Ramachandra with Lakshmana, Hanuman, Sugriva, and all the Vanaras, millions and millions of Vanaras, have arrived at the shore of the ocean and they're waiting to figure out what would be the next step, where to go from here. At this time, Valmiki Muni moves the camera to Lanka. So we get to see what's happening in Lanka. And Ravana has called for a gathering of all his ministers. And he asks them, I don't want to return Sita. And this Vanara came and caused quite a bit of havoc. So there is some embarrassment in Ravana. Valmiki says his head was hanging low with shame. But he wants to know if there is going to be war, should we go on the offensive or not? Naturally, all of Ravana's ministers are like, yes, yes, war, let's go, let's go, let's do it. And different persons speak why Ravana should fight in battle. And in the entire assembly, there is one person who feels the war is not a good idea. Because the Rakshasas say, we are great warriors. On our bodies are all the marks from the different battles we have fought. And Ravana, you yourself are such a great personality. And they are, after all, human beings. Human beings and monkeys, Vanaras. How is it possible for them to stand and fight with you at all? So we should go and fight. And Vibhishana says, he's the only one who says, no. If you fight this battle, not only you, my dear brother, but the entire Rakshasa clan, the entire Lanka will be finished. One Vanara can cause so much damage. Can you imagine how much Ramachandra's arrows will cause damage for you? He's angry, he sends Vibhishana away. Next morning, Ravana is sitting in his palace. One by one, all the great generals come in big, massive chariots with umbrellas and horses and weapons. They park their chariots, walk into Ravana, offer their obeisances to Ravana. And again, there is assembly. Vibhishana also comes, offers his obeisances to his brother, although his brother is acting in such a way that is against everybody's welfare. Yet Vibhishana is never angry with his brother. He's actually sad for his brother. And he wants to give him good advice. In the entire Lanka, there's only one person who's giving good advice. Everyone else is thinking, we're giving advice to Ravana exactly what he wants to hear. Sometimes we think good advice is what is pleasing to hear. Hmm? But good advice generally is like medicine, and not just any other medicine. It's like Ayurveda medicine. Hmm. It's a little bitter. But you have to sometimes put it in some sugar syrup so that the person has to take it, will not resist it. But sometimes you can't give it in sugar syrup. It is that nice bitter medicine. And one may think it is bitter, therefore it is not good. Yes, good advice may not be good for the ears, but it is very good for the heart. Usually, advice that is given as, oh, this is what they want to hear, that advice is very good for the ears, but very bad for the heart. That's called flattery, or we call it chapalusi in Hindi. Butter, or in a more Bombay refined Hindi, butter marofine. It's like that. But there's only one Vibhishana. So then, Prahasta, who's Ravana's commander in chief, Prahasta tells Ravana, why are you even worried? In fact, you don't even have to go for war. I alone can go and smash all the human, the Rama, Lakshmana, they're all sons of, after all, a human being. And Vanaras, I can finish all of them. In fact, you don't even have to go anywhere. I'll take care of it alone. After Prahasta speaks, Vibhishan again says, I don't think it's a good idea. Then Ravana's uh, another advisor by the name Mahaparshva. Mahaparshva says, Ravana, why are you worried? In fact, I say, don't give Sita at all. You enjoy with her just the way you want to enjoy. I will see who will stop you. Enjoy. I mean, the language is even crass that somehow you make Sita come on your bed, he says. Vibhishana, who's listening to all this, is just shocked. But Ravana says to Mahaparshva, I know I can do it, but I have a little curse from Lord Brahma. One time, I was traveling to go meet my grandfather or great grandfather, Lord Brahma. As I was going, it's like last week when we were discussing this, I gave the example that when we go to a temple, after all, Lord Brahma is the biggest, mightiest, and original person in the entire universe. So going to visit him means like going to the temple. When we go to temple, we take a bath, put on fresh cloth, tilak. At least we try to orient our consciousness that I'm going to go to the house of the Supreme Lord. So we try to be in the best behavior, best mental space if possible. The Ravana is going there, and as he's flying, he sees an Apsara by the name Punjika Sthala. All his 20 eyebrows are like, hmm. And instead of continuing towards Lord Brahma's palace, he goes and rapes Punjika Sthala. And the example he gives is like a lotus flower that has been crumpled by me. That's the example he gives. So Punjika Sthala goes to Lord Brahma and complains. She cries, what to do? So Lord Brahma at that point utters a curse to Ravana. If you ever force yourself on a woman one more time, your heads will burst into pieces. So from that time on, Ravana is very careful. He says to Mahaparshva, that is the only reason. So I have to somehow work on Sita Devi. In the language of child abuse, or in workplace we have sexual abuse. In that there is a term called grooming. Grooming means a predator, a sexual predator, behaves very friendly, slowly, gains the trust and confidence of the victim, and then attacks. So this whole process called grooming. So Ravana, in one sense, is grooming Sita Devi, but she has completely rejected him. So he says, this is the only reason I cannot. So there's a good lesson. Good behavior should be expressed because of what's given in the Dharma Shastras or our scriptures. That should be the reason for behaving nicely. Ravana is behaving nicely because he's afraid of the curse. So, saying, oh, I need to be good, otherwise. Sometimes, as devotees, we say, that Prabhu spoke to me like this, that Mataji spoke like this. I'm really angry. I really feel like saying something, but it will be an offense, so I should be careful. That's protective, no doubt about it, but it's not refined. Why would be? They are a devotee. I have something in my heart. I can express humbly to them. It doesn't mean we keep quiet. We can express humbly, express nicely that what you said hurt me, or I have this, opens for conversation. But to only not talk or do something because, oh, there will be an offense, I will get the effects of an offense, is not necessarily refined. It's protecting, but not refined. It's like children not crossing the line or the order of the parent because they're afraid of a punishment. That's not necessarily fully healthy. Fear is never a good motivator. There are many religions in this world that motivate good behavior on the basis of fear. If you do like this, then you will go to hell. If you do like that, something bad will happen. If you do like this, the consequences would be horrendous. Fear. Fear is never a good motivator. It has some benefit, but never a sustainable motivator. So that's where we stopped last week. So we're going to start with chapter 14 of the Yuddha Kanda. Now, this is Vibhishana speaking again after what Mahaparshva spoke and Ravana spoke. Actually, I was going to cover one more chapter because in the next chapter, Indrajit will speak. But the chapter after that, Vibhishana speaks to Indrajit. So if I do chapter 15, there will be a break. I want to have the impact where we hear Indrajit and then we hear Vibhishana. So I'm not going to do that until next week. Today we're going to hear from chapter 14 where Vibhishana is speaking again to Ravana as Mahaparshva and Prahasta are listening. So this is good advice. Like in Mahabharata, Vidura speaks and there is a section called Vidura Niti. This is shorter section, but this is good advice given to Ravana. Now, there are two ways to hear this. One is as a third party. We sit here and we look at Vibhishana speaking to Ravana. Another way is in the second person. In each one of us, we accept, and I'm making general, it's not true in your case. In my case, there is a Ravana, and Vibhishana is speaking to me. That's the spirit in which we take. Just the way when Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, we just don't say Krishna spoke to Arjuna. We all take it as Krishna speaking to us through Arjuna. Similarly, Vibhishana is instructing us in this case. So Ravana has spoken, and Valmiki says, Nishacharendrasya nishamya vakyam. Vakyam sa kumbhakarnasya cha garjitani. Kumbhakarna also shouted at Ravana that what you're doing is horrible. I wish you had consulted with us before you kidnapped Sita. What is the point of talking about it now? After doing all the bad things, what should we do? What kind of discussion is that? But anyway, since you have done it as your brother, I will support you. The other brother, Vibhishana, doesn't say that. So Nishacharendrasya, that is Ravana, after hearing what Ravana spoke and Kumbhakarna's Garjatani, of Kumbhakarna's roaring answers, Vibhishano Rakshasa Rajas Mukhyam Vakyam Hitam Arthyam Uktam. Vibhishana spoke in which there is Hita. Hita means welfare of Ravana. And Artham Yuktam. It is full of meaning. It is full of wisdom. So advice must be given, not because I like to give it, but it is for the benefit of the person who's going to receive it. And Artham Uktam. It has to have some meaning. It has to have in a way that it elevates the person receiving the advice. If it doesn't elevate, then there's no use of that advice. So Hitam Artham Uktam. And he says, Ravana, when I look at you, I see that you have a poisonous snake around your neck. That poisonous snake is Sita. The poison inside that snake, Sita, is her grief. The sharp fangs, the teeth that she has, behind her gentle smile, and the 5 fingers of Sita, which you have been, because Ravana describes how beautiful Sita Devi's fingers are. He says the 5 fingers of her palm are like the 5 hoods of the snake. What you are seeing as very pleasurable is highly venomous. Meaning, you have invited death around your own neck. It's like putting a snake around your neck and thinking, oh, it's a nice pet. It's a 5-hooded serpent that looks attractive, but has fangs, and poison is her grief. Because whenever somebody is sad, they can become very, very attacking. Although Sita is not like that, but Vibhishana is saying, because in her grief, she will evoke the anger of Ramachandra. That is where your death will come. And he says, before all of those monkeys, where each of their forms is like a mountain, and who have teeth and claws like their weapons, before they reach Lanka, give Sita back to Ramachandra. Few chapters ago, I had expressed that there is a phrase that which ends every shloka. So you will hear this again and again. He says, Pradiyatam Dasharathaya Maithili. Dasharathaya, that is, unto Lord Ramachandra, the son of Dasharatha, Maithili Pradiyatam. Please return. So he says, Yavan Lanka Samabhidravati Valmika Mukha Parvatakuta Matraha. Valmika Mukha means monkey faces. When they will arrive, each of their form is like a mountain. Drashta ayudhas chaiva. Damshtra ayudhas chaiva. Their weapons are their teeth. Nakha ayudhascha. And their nails are also their ayudha, their weapons. Pradiyatam Dasarathaya Maithili. This phrase comes again and again and again in this chapter. And then he says, when Ramachandra will release arrows, each arrow will hit you and Lanka like a flash of lightning and thunderbolt. And the arrows will come in at the speed of wind. Before that happens, Pradiyatam, Dasharathaya Maithili. So one, he says the armies will come, and then he says Ramachandra is a formidable opponent for you. You are thinking you have great strength on your side. Didn't Duryodhana also say in the very first chapter of Bhagavad Gita? On my side are all these great warriors under the leadership of Bhishma Deva. On that side, under the leadership of Bhima, some people are there. Ravana is also thinking like that. So Vibhishna says, Na Kumbha Karnendra, Na Kumbha Karna Indrajitau. Neither Kumbhakarna nor Indrajit. Rajan, Mahaparshva, Mahodarava, whether it is Mahaparshva or Mahodara. Nikumbha Kumbhascha, whether it is Kumbhakarna's sons, Kumbha and Nukumbha. Atikaya, at one point we discussed that all these massive bodies, okay? Atikaya sthanum na shakta ayudhe, na shakta ayudhi raghava. They cannot stand in front of Ramachandra. Parallelly, uh, if you have not been following our, so you may perhaps not connect. I'll say it quickly because a lot of new faces are here. According to Sri Vedanta Deshika and other acharyas, they say that Sita Devi represents the jiva, Ravana represents the mind, and the 10 heads are the 10 senses, and the mind captures the jiva inside Lanka, which is this mortal body. And this mortal body is situated in the middle of the ocean called the ocean of samsara. And Hanumanji plays the role of guru who comes, gives Rama mantra, goes back and brings the Supreme Lord to release this jiva who's constantly crying and crying and crying for Ramachandra to come. But the mind has to release. And the mind has many friends and accompaniers who hold the jiva captive. They're called Kumbhakarna, big ears that don't listen to anything. That's why a Kumbhakarna is always sleeping. Even if they make noise, he can't wake up. Indrajit. Indrajit here is not that they've won the senses, but the senses are completely not subdued, won over. They're slaves. And then he says Mahaparshva. Parshva means the sides. So it's a very formidable body. This body is not easy to break because the body has so many demands. It's constantly following the pushes, like Rupa Goswami tells us, the pushes or the urges. Vacho Vegam, Manasa, Kurodha Vegam, Jihva Vegam, Udara, Upasta Vegam, like that. Etan Vegan, all these Vegas. So there is I generally joke that in US, where all these Vegas get together, the city is called Las Vegas. They're all together because that city is like that. It says Nikumbha, Kumbha, Atikaya. Atikaya means the body is so big. And the mind thinks these are my strengths, false shelters. It says in front of Ramachandra, no chance for any of these. When Ramachandra will shoot an arrow, your life will not remain in your body. Even if you go and take the shelter of Suryadev or Vayu, or even if you sit on the lap of Indra or Yamaraj, if you hide in the sky or hide underwater, there's no escape for you. It's come to that point now, Ravana. This is the perfect time for you to just, the simplest thing you have to do is give up Sita Devi. I'm going to jump all the way into the battle between Rama and Ravana for a moment. Ravana is somewhere in his palace. Ramachandra is here. Ravana comes all the way on his chariot, just standing face to face, not far from each other. And they're fighting like anything. Ramachandra trashes his chariot, Ravana's chariot, breaks the umbrella, breaks the shaft of this, kills all the horses. Everything is completely shattered. And Ravana's charioteer takes Ravana back into the palace. Ravana becomes very upset and comes back the next day. So some of the acharyas explain that this is how our intelligence sometimes doesn't work. Ravana had to go back so much distance back to his palace to gain more strength and come back the next day. If he had even mustard seed worth of intelligence, he would have walked 10 steps towards Ramachandra and given up and been alive. It's so easy for him. I mean, it's not easy for him, but it's so easy, but that did not even occur to him. He wants to gain his strength. Sometimes, as the life moves and things become difficult, people first hold on to their own strength and assets instead of saying to the Supreme Lord, I am just surrendering in front of you. Yesterday, what was that phrase? Let whatever happens, happen. Whatever is supposed to happen, happen. We are reading Mukunda Mala Stotra. Yad bhavyam tad bhavatu. Whatever is supposed to happen, let it happen. That's a hard one for people to say. I know it's a hard one for me to say. But he's saying even if you're sitting with Indra, Yamraj, Surya, Vayu, water, sky, wherever you are, there is no chance. Everybody is listening. Prahasta is also listening. Prahasta told Vibhishana, we are not afraid of the gods or Rakshasas or anyone. No bhayam vidwan daivatebhyo nadanavebhyo apyi kutaschit apyathava kutaschit apyatha kutaschit. Nobody, he's not even mentioning human beings, you notice? He says Deva or Danava or anyone else. We're not afraid. We're not afraid of Yakshas, Gandharvas, Nagas are very, very strong. Very strong. He said we're not afraid of them. We have no fear of birds or reptiles. We are not afraid of one human king's son, Ram. We don't even consider that any opposition. What are you worried about? Vibhishana, who really wants Ravana to be established in dharma, artha, and proper kama. These are not bad things. When dovetailed or submitted in the service of the Lord, they give great benefit because dharma submitted to the Supreme Lord means I follow the principles of bhakti. Artha means what I desire, what I'm looking for, the prayojana is eternal service. And kama, each one of us, nobody can say, I am free of desires. In fact, Prabhupada says the only person who's free of desires is who is free of desires? Stone or dead body. Only a dead body has no desires. Everybody living has desires. So, kama means spiritual desires. Desires that will foster my bhakti, foster my relationship with the Supreme Lord. So dharma, artha, kama have that meaning. And that's what Vibhishana wants because he wants him to go submit to Lord Ramachandra. Listening to Prahasta's words, he said, these are not good words. And so he spoke again. If you notice how many times Vibhishana is trying, he didn't say, I spoke once, my brother is foolish, he didn't listen, I don't care. He really wants Ravana to live and be a brother for him. So he says, that which you want to accomplish against Ramachandra, means fighting, is not possible for you, Prahasta. It's not possible for this, my brother, the king also, or even Kumbhakarna or Mahodara, just as the heaven is not obtainable for a person who is not dharmic. Meaning, you cannot sit in a plane and go to heavenly realms and say to Indra, I'm here. Hmm? Only Vishwamitra somehow, with his potency, sent Trishanku there, but Indra kicked him back. So there was a going back and forth like a tennis match volley of, this way and that way. And Trishanku was like, what is this? Up and down, up and down. Because he would go this way and Indra would kick him back upside down. So his Trishanku Swarga is all upside down. The reality is Vishwamitra created such that everything is upside down, so it looks straight up for Trishanku. But you can't enter. Arjuna entered because Krishna took him there. Otherwise, Vibhishna says you cannot enter heaven without good, pious credits. Prahasta, can you or me or any of the Rakshasas who knows kill Ramachandra, who's the most knowledgeable person? Just as a person without a boat, can they cross an ocean? How much of a good swimmer they may be Michael Phelps, who got 6 or 8 or how many number of gold medals in the Olympics. Once they're in the ocean, no way. The phrase is very nice. Katham vedarthi va vedarthi vi sharadasya maharanam uh, aplavasya. One who doesn't have a boat cannot cross a Maharanavam. What a Maharanavam? Cannot cross a lake also. What to speak of an ocean? Meaning Ramachandra is like the massive ocean. Where is the Supreme Lord compared to an ocean in a prayer we sing every day? Very good. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu. What other one? Morning time we sing. Hmm? What is the reference to the Lord as? Kalyana Gunaranavasya. He is the ocean of auspicious qualities. Here Ramachandra is the ocean of power. That how much ever medals you have, Ravana, Prahasta, none of these medals. All the medals you will get after you die. It's like all the chakras you get after you die, posthumously, because you're not going to be alive to get any of these medals and rewards. Who is Ramachandra? Dharma Pradhanasya. For Ramachandra, Dharma is Pradhana. And this is important. Ramachandra in this world appears as a human being, but not as an ordinary human being. A human being who will always, always, always act according to dharma, even if it is inconvenient, uncomfortable, painful, punishing, yet dharma. Generally, for each one of us, I like to say in each one of us, I'm not hinting at any one of you, it's just my style of saying things. For any conditioned being, none of you, any conditioned being, every quality, whether it is humility, tolerance, kindness, gentleness, dharma, stops at a certain limit. As long as we are not pushed to the limit, all our qualities are blossoming like fragrant flowers. When we are at that limit, that is the test if we can continue. And that is where most conditioned souls will fail. Because beyond that, it's inconvenient, it's difficult, it's painful. So I will take what is easy. Ramachandra shows us that there is no such line. It keeps on going. Whether it is Prahlad. Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, great, great personality, Ambarisha Maharaj, whoever it is, they demonstrate that that limit is not so easy, and it keeps going. It keeps going because they don't mind it, and the inconvenience they will accept, so that line goes further up. So he says, Dharma Pradhanasya Maharathasya Ikshvaku Vamsha Prabhava Ragyaha. He is the shining, crowning jewel in the Ikshvaku line. And he's like Dasharatha Maharaj. He got, what is Dasharatha Maharaj's original name? Was not Dasharatha, it was Dharmaraja. He got this title, Dasharatha, which means he could take his chariot in any of the 10 directions without any obstruction. Such great warrior. That warrior's son is Ramachandra. And even the Devatas become Vimudha, they are bewildered by Dasharatha's power. And Ramachandra is also like that, that even the demigods will become bewildered in front of Ramachandra's power. The question that I'd like all of us to think is, how does Vibhishana know all this? He's sitting in Lanka. Was he watching some YouTube live? How does he know? That's a question. Think about it. So he says, what can you do, Prahasta? The sharp arrows of Ramachandra that are fitted with the feathers of a certain bird, it's called Kanka bird. Because the feathers will make the arrow be right in its path without, because of air and resistance, the arrows can sometimes sway from their path. But these feathers in the back keep the arrow and they make it move swiftly. So the very dangerous arrows. They will tear your body and penetrate through you. Prahasta. You're talking, pounding your chest that you will kill Ramachandra. Be careful. Prahasta, before these arrows at the speed of light will be released by Ramachandra and tear your body, why are you boasting? Don't boast. Come to understand the reality of it. Whether it is Ravana, whether it is Trishira, Nikumbha, the son of Kumbhakarna, even Indrajit. Why is he referring to Indrajit? Because Indrajit had defeated Indra. Indrajit is going to tell us in the next chapter what he did, but I'll reveal it to you. He broke Airavata's tusks, banged Airavata onto the ground, got Indra, and made him kneel in front of him. That is the power of Indrajit. And Vibhishana is saying, you may think the previous match you won like anything. This match you're not going to win. You're not capable of opposing Ramachandra even if you won over Indra. How is it possible for you? Whether it is Devantaka, Narantaka, Atirata, Akampana, who himself is like a mountain, will not stand against Raghava. So he's going through a whole list. He's dismantling for Ravana, who is feeling that I have all these warriors to help me. Yesterday's verse we listed. Every person looks at all the things they have in their life as shelters. If something goes wrong, I have enough bank balance. If something goes wrong, I have enough degrees that I will get a job. If something goes wrong, I have good health, nothing's wrong, I will make it happen. If something goes wrong, I have great friends that who will jump in for me. I have great relatives who will take care of me. I have contacts. My network is very good. My LinkedIn profile is just super. And Vibhishana is dismantling one after the other, one after the other. That when something like formidable situation comes, none of these shelters can prove powerful enough. Not that we don't use them. I don't mean to convey that tomorrow you just walk away and sit on the street and say, I heard in Ramayana, Nityananda Pran Das said, none of this is useful, so I'm just going to sit here. No. They're all given by the Lord, so we utilize them, but they are not independent of themselves. What resources we have today, that resources can be withdrawn. And then he's telling everybody, look at Vibhishana's guts. He's telling to everyone, Ayam cha Raja. As far as this king is concerned, he's referring to him as Raja. Ayam cha Raja Vyasanani Bhuto. He is completely a victim of vices. Vyasana means vice. What is Ravana's biggest vice? Lust. Mitrair, mitrair amitra pratimair bhavadbhi. He has so many addictions that he is hell bent upon finishing the entire Rakshasa dynasty and clan. And you, all of you, by fanning his pride, are speaking like Mitra, but you're all a Mitra. You're not friends. If our friend wants to do something foolish, if we say, Karle, it's okay, then you're not being a friend. You should be able to say, no, this is not good for you. This is not healthy for you. This will hurt your devotional life. This will hurt your family life. This will hurt your career. This will hurt whatever, your own body. Don't do such things. That's a good friend. He says, you're all talking like friends, but you're not friends. You're enemies. This king, again, is come back to that snake example. This king is completely wrapped up by a very strong, poisonous, thousand-hooded snake. Please lift him up and beat him into sense. He didn't say beat him, this is my words. Bring him to his senses, because he is going to speak and act in a very foolish way. The king has to be protected by all of his friends and together all their well wishes. Sometimes you have to catch him by his hair forcibly. Just as when somebody is possessed by a ghost, you have to catch their hair and shake them up. Sometimes you have to do it. Because if they're not listening, you've seen in movies and dramas, the wife or the friend will hold the husband and shake them. Sun rahe ho na? Are you listening or not? Or someone who's drunk, so intoxicated, they're mumbling something nonsense, they're doing something foolish. You hold them and you shake them. So they come to their senses. So Vibhishna is saying, hold Ravana's hair, you have to pull him out or shake him to bring him to his senses. Very soon he's going to fall into this great ocean called Rama and be destroyed. He's going to get engulfed and put into a pit. The pit is, the shape of the pit is called Sri Ramachandra. And he's going to go down into some lower realm. What is that Bhagavad Gita verse? If you do sattvic activities, you go upwards. Urdhvam gachanti sattva stha. Those who are situated in sattva guna go upwards. Then madhye tishtanti rajasaha. Those who are living their life in a mode of passion, rajasic, madhye tishtanti. They are born back in earth in Bangalore or Cleveland or Chicago, wherever. Madhye tishtanti rajasa. Jaganna guna vritya. Jaganna vritya, meaning deplorable vritya, behavior, deplorable behavior, adho gachanti. They go down, tamasaha. So when one's activities are governed by tamas or the tamoguna, the activities are jaganna, very deplorable, like that. So I'm telling you all these good words, Vibhishana is saying, because this is my opinion. I genuinely want Ravana's welfare. Samyak Samyaghivakyam Swamantra. Swamant. This is my opinion. Abravin. Narendra Putraya. Narendra Putraya. Who's that? Sri Ramachandra. Narendra Putraya Dadama Patnim. Dadama Patnim. Should give the Prince Ramachandra his wife back. How many warnings, huh? Such a good friend he is. Today's topic was like water off a duck's back. Ever seen a duck in a water? Huh? The duck puts his head down in water, his entire body, and comes back on the surface of water. Not one drop makes the duck wet at all. The duck never becomes wet. Similarly, one may be drowned in good advice. It comes out dry. Nothing has touched the person. Nothing has touched. It has made no effect on him. We have 2 ears. I like the sound effects. We have 2 ears. Ravana has 10 heads and 20 ears. But the fellow cannot hear anything, especially good advice. Selective hearing. My spiritual master uses a phrase that I don't know if you're familiar with it. After giving good advice, if the person is not hearing anything, he says he has a bean in his ear. A bean in his ear means he can't hear anything. Another way is he has AirPods in his ears. You can't hear anything. Noise cancelling. Whatever advice is coming is just not touching. So, like water off a duck's back means after so much pleading, begging, instructing, shouting, admonishing, chastising from Vibhishana, we'll see that it has no effect. Ravana is still sitting quiet. Indrajit has yet to speak. That will be next week. Finally, Vibhishana gives a principle. Parasya viryam swabalam cha बुद्ध्वा स्थानं क्षयं च एवथैव वृद्धिं तथा स्वपेक्षेप्य न मृष्य बुद्ध्वावते बुद्ध्वा वदेत् क्षमस्वाम इहतं समंत्री. He says one who is a minister should only give advice after thoroughly analyzing, considering what is the strength of the enemy, what his own strengths are, what one's growth is, and what is the weakness of the enemy. I'm going to say something which anyone in a office setting perhaps will have heard this word. You know what is SWOT analysis? Strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. All these marketing people took it from Valmiki Rishi. This is the verse. There are four things he says. You should consider your strength. You should consider your weakness. You should consider your opportunities. Your opportunities is the other person's weakness. And what is the threat? Their strengths. So you should do a good SWOT analysis before you give any advice. That is a good mantri. And then he becomes quiet. And when he becomes quiet, I'm going to give you the first couple of verses of next chapter, so there's continuity. Valmiki says, Brihaspatir tulyam eter vachana tan nishamyah vibhishanasya. Valmiki is comparing Vibhishana to Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the wisest personality in the universe because he advises Indra. So he says, Brihaspatir Tulyam. as good as Brihaspati is Vibhishana. Tato Mahatma Vachanam Babhashe Indrajit Indrajit Tatra Vachanam Babhashe. Then our hero Indrajit spoke. He's not a hero, he's a foolish fellow. Because if Ravana's son is also like that. Indrajit. Indrajit represents the mind's assurance of how capable he is. Therefore, is a derivative of the mind. So Indrajit is Ravana's son. The mind always considers, I'm very wise, I have a lot of strength. Previously, I've done so many successful things. I've come up with so many wonderful ideas. My intelligence is very sharp. I rely on all of that. And that is Indrajit. Now, Indrajit is going to speak, which I'm going to keep you in suspense, if it is suspense, on the edge of the seat, if you like. But I'm going to pause here and see if you have any comments or thoughts, reflections, anything that touched you. You felt like, oh, I had no idea of this. This is the first time I'm hearing it. Or, yeah, I'd heard it. It became strengthened today. Any reflection from anything you're studying, you heard something. I'd love to open up for some discussion. We have a mic for you because there are people online here. So what we're going to do is, for those on Zoom, we'll hold on. I have live audience here. We'll give them the opportunity first, and then we'll see if there's anything online for you. Anything? Any reflection? Doesn't have to be question. Just share something if you like. Yes, Prabhu. Once.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So, when Vibhishan was very nicely explaining all these powers and good qualities, and I'm really surprising how all these demonic people patiently listening,
Yeah.
how tolerant they are. So that's my
They didn't tell him, shut up.
yeah.
Huh?
So how is that?
Because,
Patiently, how they were hearing Shravanam.
because he's Ravana's brother. He's also a powerful person. He's not some weak, skinny little guy who's sitting there and speaking something. He's one of the ministers. Everyone has to have to speak. It's going to come.
Okay.
As he's speaking, for them, it's going to become intolerable. See, after all, he's Ravana's brother. He's the uncle. If Prahasta says something, kings are very temperamental. Suddenly they'll say, "Iska sar kaat do, cut off his head." So they have to be careful with kings. So what Prahasta and all are doing is contradicting Vibhishana without saying anything to him directly. They're speaking to the king. He's also speaking to the king, and because he's the younger brother, Ravana is tolerating him. After which Indrajit will speak, then Vibhishana will speak, and then Ravana will speak, and you will hear what Ravana says is very bad. Until the time, there, after all, it's a court. You can't say. In another says he's also one of the senior vice presidents. You can't just say shut up. It's like that. So they have to
Thank you.
squirm and say, I'm not listening to anything. एक कान से गया दूसरा like that.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else?
Anybody? This audience takes a little warm up time. Yes, you will, Kishore.
Hare Krishna, Bro. It was wonderful. So you said that fear is not a good motivator.
Yes.
After fear is the duty. Is
Hmm.
that the right? So, and Maryada Purushottam Bhagavan Rama has said that he does. So is a duty is also a good motivator, or it is okay but not up to the next is the prem.
Yeah, obviously. Sri Ramachandra is the Maryada Purushottam. It's very interesting. If you read Ramayana, if you read the lines of the Ramayana, you see Ramachandra is Dharma Purusha. If you read between the lines, is all love for his devotees. There's no activity done without love and affection. Even when he's killing Vali, for example, he comes back and speaks to Vali in such a way that Vali says, I accept. So some of the commentators laugh that Vali accepted. But nowadays people say, Vali ko mara. They're like Wali's supporters. But Wali said, I accept whatever you said is 100% correct. But some people will not. But Ramachandra is, although performing dharma, his duty is infused with love, is not devoid of love, not separate from love. Love is here. Duty is what you see. What you see is duty. What they feel is love. What he feels and how he does is love. So it is said that sometimes we as conditioned beings, we can only see the behavior of a person, not intention. Sri Ramachandra, Krishna, since we're in Jagannath's home, Lord Jagannath, he sees the intention of the person and sometimes neglects the behavior. He sees the intention. Saragrahi, Janardana. Intention is hard to grasp. In fact, most people always read someone else's intention wrong. Why? Because they read from my worldview. If I were in that situation, I'm behaving like this, then something is Atmanam's. I read the world according to how I see it. So it's hard to find other. And so in the community of devotees, whenever there is an argument or some strife or some, because in this community there's no such thing, I'm talking outside here. If there is something like that, one can argue with another devotee to settle whatever is the point of or points of discord, but one should never put finger on someone else's intention. From that point, if you do, that relationship forever gets fractured. You can try putting things back, but you'll always see the crack in it. If you ever question someone else's intention, you can always question behavior because you're observing something. You can say, when I saw that speech or when I saw that action, it hurt me, or I was surprised, or I was taken aback that you said something like this. But you can never say because your intention was not right. Never question someone's intention. You can always ask, can you tell me what your intention was when you spoke like that or you behaved like that? I want to know so that I don't wrongly understand your intention. That's inviting. Inviting for dialogue. It invites for relationships to be strengthened. But you never judge another person's intention. We don't have that purview. Only Paramatma has. We can't say, Paramatma told me. Hmm? Very hard. Unless one is so in tune with Paramatma. Okay. Anyone else? Anything else? Yes. Your mic's not on, I think.
Prabhuji, I want the answer of your question itself. How Vibhishana knows all these things sitting
I
in
don't
the
know. I'm
Lanka.
asking you. You are the learned crowd. So I don't know.
No, Prabhu.
Whenever I don't know any answer, I ask Shamakund Prabhu. He has all the answers. Shamakund Prabhu, what is the answer? I don't know. I asked all of you. Please think about what was the question?
How Vibhishana sitting in the Lanka knows everything about Sri Ramachandra ji.
One way to understand it is, what's that Hindi saying? Samajhdar ko ishara kafi hai. What is the ishara? More than ishara. Hanuman came. Hmm? And Hanuman destroyed almost 95% of Lanka. From golden Lanka, it became black, ashen Lanka. Everything was grey color. They had to do marjanam, clean it to see the gold back again. Everything was burnt down. And that Hanuman kept telling, what was that phrase he kept saying again and again and again? Dasasya Ramasya Kaushalendrasya Dasoham. I am the servant of that the prince of Koshala. One Vanara on the name of Ramachandra can do this. That means what is the strength behind that? That's one ishara or indicator. Second, When Shurpanaka came and cried to Ravana that that Lakshmana cut off my ears and nose, before that or during that time, Ramachandra fought with Khara, Dushana, Trishiras, thousands of their warriors and 14,000 of their warriors. And Valmiki says, Muhurta Ardhena, in 72 minutes, Ramachandra alone finished all the 14,000 Rakshasas without stepping back even once. Not a bead of sweat was there on Ramachandra. Of course, the story is Ramachandra had a lot of arrow marks on his body and body was oozing with blood. But that's a sweet story later in that war. But Ramachandra did not step back even once. Valmiki writes, the 14,000 warriors are looking at Ramachandra. And it's not like they're standing in front of each other and fighting. The 14,000 had encircled Ramachandra. They were shooting arrows from the back, from the sides, from the front, from the top. Some were invisible. And they were all shooting arrows simultaneously. They all saw Ramachandra. They all saw Ramachandra holding a bow, but they never could see the other hand that was releasing the arrow. It was so fast. They didn't know where the arrows were coming and so fast hitting them. Even though they were invisible, they were fighting. They could not find out. In 72 minutes, finished off. So that's enough to say to Vibhishana. It was not ordinary. And one who is dharmically situated can recognize. That is the importance. Without, we're called, what is the phrase in Bhagavad Gita? Krishna says twice, more than twice, but one he says, Tattva Darshinaha. Tattvadarshi, one who can see the truth. Vibhishana is Tattvadarshi. He knows. Even Hanuman just Tattvadarshi. As soon as he met Ramachandra, he knew. That's how. It doesn't have to be spelled out. They figured out, Tattvadarshi, that this is not ordinary strength. And the fact that Ramachandra has already come to the ocean, in fact, Ramachandra, just for the sake of the drama, is wondering, how am I going to cross this ocean? In Vibhishana's mind, he's already come and finished Ravana. That's what he's telling him. He's going to come and kill you. He doesn't even have to come. He's saying his arrows will come and kill you. From 100 yojanas away, they'll come and kill you. Vibhishana has also heard that Vali was killed because Hanuman warned. Anyway, I don't know if some of you have not heard, so I'll embellish a little bit. Vali was so strong that once Ravana, when he heard about Vali, Ravana said, let me go see who this Vali is. And Vali, every day morning, would do his Gayatri Sandhya Vandana in all the major oceans, the 4 major oceans. Now we say 7, but actually it is 4 major because Chatussagara Paryantam is the mantra. He would take a bath in all the oceans every day. That means he would be jumping all around the planet. So while Vali is sitting down, Ravana came from behind to capture Vali. Vali knew. He picked up his arm and put Ravana's 10 heads under his armpit and choked him like this. And while Ravana is choking, he says, Keshavaya Namah, Narayana Namah, Apavitra, did all his puja, jumped up, plunged into the ocean, took a bath, came out, jumped to the other ocean, took Ravana on a world tour, on a cruise because it's water, no? Took him on a cruise around the world, dropped him after that and said, what do you want? Ravana was like, whoa, who's this guy? And they made a friendship from that time. So Hanuman says to Ravana, that Vali who treated you like a little pet, one arrow of Ramachandra finished Vali. Just one arrow. There was not even a battle. One arrow. So Vibhishana is hearing this, right? He knows. There's enough evidence. So that's how Vibhishana knows and how he's speaking. Anything else? Yeah? Yeah, please. pass on.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. How Vibhishana became a Tattvadarshi, from whom he took a.
Vibhishana has Lord Brahma's blessings. Because they're all in the family, they all performed great tapasya. This is in Uttarakanda. Ravana performed tapasya and asked what he wants. Then Brahma asked Kumbhakarna, what do you want for Christmas? And he wanted to say something, but the demigods prayed to Saraswati Devi, please, if this guy is awake, then we'll all be crushed. So she sat on his tongue and instead of saying one thing, he said, I want to sleep for 6 months. And Brahma said, Tatastu. Before anything else, the deal was sealed. When he came to Vibhishana, he said, please let me live a life of dharma and always be in the association of great saintly persons. Brahma said, Tatastu. Now, specifically who, we don't know, but in the saintly persons.
All the devotees who were in the Rakshas full family or anything, somebody has given mercy to them. So that way I was.
Well, Maricha was there for a little while, but there are other saintly persons who were visiting. It's not like Ravana's palace was never visited by sages. They visited. Hiranyakashipu was visited by Narada Muni, right? So Narada, I'm sure, was visiting. The great sages were visiting Ravana. So he had good association. Ravana also had association, just didn't take it seriously. Anything else? Yes, in the back there. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, so I'm saying in the back there. But yeah, maybe you can say your name because I don't know some of the names. Oh, wow.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, this, I have a doubt from Ayodhya Kanda.
Oh, okay.
Uh, So actually, I was just reading it, and the chapter names that Rama orders Lakshmana to go back to Ayodhya during their first day of the Vanavas. So I just had a doubt that when Rama was asked to go for an exile, so Valmiki Rishi tells that there is no change in his face
Yeah.
when he was ordered. But during that first day of that exile, then he feels a lot. He goes into depression. I mean, there he mentions that Kaikeyi is so cruel. She is very this. So you better go take care of both the mothers. And he cries a lot. So I was little bit doubtful. What is this? I mean, why Rama was like that?
Let's look at it from a very human perspective for a moment. Up until this point, Ramachandra is a darling prince and suddenly has been asked to leave. He's come into the forest. He has never, not like he has not stepped on the ground, but never lived like this. Lying down on grass, out in the elements, wearing tree bark. He's so itchy. His hair is full of banyan pulp, and tied up. So it's all sticky, hard. What is Ramachandra bathing in all kinds of shampoos and perfumes and all bathed by so many people and living in the best, not even Kanjivaram silk, best silks. But he's like that. So as a human being, he says, what has happened? For a moment, if you consider as a human being. Now you add a layer to it. He says Kaikeyi's cruelty, but he never talks about Kaikeyi's cruelty towards him. He says, I'm concerned about Kausalya. Lakshmana, you go and take care of your mother and my mother. So his love is for his mother from a human level. Take it a little further up to a rasa level. When Ramachandra left Ayodhya, except for Madhurya rasa relationship with Sita because she's there, everyone else, all the other rasas are in severe separation. His friends, his servants, his parents. So this is an expression of Vipralambha in those rasas. 13 years pass. Okay. They are in Panchavati. And it is this season, November, December season, before the winter has set in. Everything is frozen. There is fog and mist and little bit of water surface becoming frozen, like a sheet of ice. Lakshmana is describing the beauty of this season, whole chapter. Near the end of the chapter, Lakshmana says, there Bharata in Nandigram must be missing you so much. He's living just like you. And all this happened because of the cruel Kaikeyi. As soon as Ramachandra hears that, he stops Lakshmana and he says, don't speak about Kaikeyi, but you can continue speaking about Bharata. No grudge towards her. So even in this case, it's all about, from a human emotion, if you see, it's like change of circumstance to show that how people have to get adjusted to a complete different circumstance, and they may consider, oh, look at how things have turned out for me. But he never blames Kaikeyi for anything. In fact, Shatrughna wants to kill Manthara. Bharata says, Ramachandra will not be happy, so we should forgive her. Is that okay, Mataji? All right. We've gone over time. I don't think we can take online, right, Shamakun Prabhu? Are there any questions online? My speakers. Are there any questions online?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Kumarika Devidasi.
Okay, now, thank you.
So I have a question.
Okay, thank you. Oh, there is something.
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
I
Kumarika.
can't hear. So Shamakun will speak out the, because the way it's organized, he's going to repeat the question. So go ahead and speak your question.
Okay. So I was touched by your statement that all our good qualities like tolerance or good behavior, everything has got a limit and it will stop at some level.
I think Shamkund is meditating, no?
True. But I had this doubt also, should we always tolerate or assert ourselves?
Samadhi.
Kumarika Mataji is asking the question that, she says she very much appreciated the way you said, there is no limit for tolerance for Lord Ramachandra. It just moves on and on. She liked it very much. But for our own selves, should there be no limit for tolerance? Should we just keep giving in? How is that? How do we take that?
It is not about should we have a limit or should we not have a limit. That's an intellectual way of looking at it. It is whether we have or we don't have. And what we do is we practice these qualities because it's like weightlifting or playing a game. Only when you practice, your skill becomes better and better. I'm not saying that these are skills, but as an example, the more we practice, the more skillful we become. Similarly, if I'm lifting weights in a gym, I can't just go lift the heaviest weight first. I lift smaller weights and I practice. And that helps me allow pick bigger weights, then bigger and heavier stuff. That's why a devotee practices these in the good times, so that when the real challenge comes, from the lab to the actual street, from practice, net practice to actual pitch when you're playing the game, then nobody can go and play a cricket match, international cricket match, without practice, right? It's not possible. Like that, we practice in the nets within our little circle of friends, and little practice. There's a little, abrasion here and there, and then we work it out so that when life throws challenges at us, we know how to respond to it. That's the part. It's not like, should I have limit or not? No one thinks, should I have limit or not? It's just the character of who we are. That's how it builds. Ramachandra bestows upon us that same limitlessness. We hope so. We aspire so. Just as Dhruva Maharaj, young little boy, meditating on Lord Vishnu, right? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. As he is meditating, his weight is increasing. And Bhagavatam says that he became as heavy as the Supreme Lord. The whole earth was bearing that weight because the Lord's appearing in his heart. As an example, that we are bestowed the same qualities. Now, one may say, "Oh, Krishna is unlimited. Will I also get unlimited?" It gets into that philosophical, but the point is our ability to uh, toe the line on those qualities is further and further. Anything else? Done? Thank you. Online? That's it? It's been over an hour, so I want to stop. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. I appreciate, happy to see all of you. I don't know many of you, but thank you for being here. Thank you for encouraging me to share with you this wonderful Valmiki Ramayana. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Sri Sitaram Lakshmana.